Well, let's remember, what did just last week Stephen A was on air bragging about the people he stood up for to get paid and how many, Cam I did for Shannon Sharp and I did it for this person and that person. And when I look at the abrupt, like, nah, I'm not coming into work tomorrow,
Yeah.
that also is like, maybe there's pointing a finger at Stephen A.
Who actually pulled the trigger on this exit, and why? There was no time for spin, no time for glossy statements. Molly Qerim's contract was abruptly chopped. Her desk cleared overnight, and Stephen A. Smith went on air looking less like the king of swagger and more like a man cornered. That trademark bravado was swapped for a clenched jaw and a carefully rehearsed script. The details behind Molly's sudden ESPN walkout are spilling, and abruptly quit doesn't even scratch the surface. Insiders whisper that producers and on-air talent immediately started trading stories of chaos. Staffers claim Molly was yanked out of meetings without warning, her show graphics erased like she never existed, before the ink on her Instagram post had even dried, and ESPN's internal memo banning any public speculation. That only cranked up suspicions. When Stephen A. Smith opened the very next First Take, his tribute to Molly was polished but hollow, praising her class and dignity, while dodging the biggest question, why she vanished with no farewell segment. Meanwhile, the network quietly launched a 30 to 45-day search for a new face, with at least 3 external candidates already being floated on insider calls. And the timing? Chilling.
Ooh, she's out of
She, yesterday when we talked, we knew that she was leaving, but we didn't know she was leaving like immediately, which is an indication that, man, this thing's a bit more complicated than just they couldn't settle on the money. It just seems more seriously. She's off the show.
Just a week before, chat logs reveal Stephen A. met solo with producers, right after a fiery on-air clash. And suddenly, a whole segment Molly had led was wiped from replay circulation. 2 staffers even allege Stephen demanded she be pushed out to clear the runway for his own empire. Right before his jaw-dropping $100 million contract was rushed through hours after Molly's departure. Now ESPN's legal team is scrambling, fielding outside questions about whether Molly's exit conveniently triggered boosts to Stephen's deal. The company flat out denies any link, but Stephen A. himself only fanned the flames. On air, he muttered, "It's not as if I know all the details," then rattled off insider-level contract timelines that only top execs should have known.
Steve, was when you pay Stephen A. Smith $20 million, that mean, okay, well, whoever his co-host is, they're going to want an exorbitant amount of money. And so she may have been making $2.5, $3 million as the host. Well, when Stephen A. is sitting there making 20, well, maybe now she wants to make.
Even rival hosts were side-eyeing, with one snapping, "Who signed off and why?" Some of these things are just uncomfortable to watch. Neither Molly nor her agent have spoken officially, but her last Instagram line sent the rumor mill into overdrive. Stay tuned. Posted just hours after ESPN's press release, it was cryptic enough to suggest she's gearing up for battle. 3 separate sports attorneys who reviewed the timeline believe Molly could be preparing to sue not just ESPN, but Stephen A. himself for hostile work environment and wrongful termination. That's the storm Molly Qerim could be ready to unleash, echoing patterns straight out of ESPN's past scandals. Staffers at 2 digital outlets claim they've already seen drafts of a potential legal complaint, even though nothing has officially hit the court dockets yet.
Have been released as to why Molly Qerim abruptly quit ESPN. And when I say abruptly quit, I mean she left work, I think it was on Monday, and
Inside Bristol, the mood has gone ice cold. One social media team member said there's been a total blackout on anything Molly related, while PR bosses scrambled to contain what they called reputational risk. Both sides are desperately trying to paint this split as an amicable divorce. Maybe that's the line, maybe it's even half true, but the timing, the optics, they scream anything but mutual. Then came the viral flashpoint. footage of Stephen A. Smith snapping at Molly during a commercial break about eating, which exploded online and had fans accusing him of crossing the line. Another clip, mysteriously deleted from ESPN's VOD archives, showed Molly publicly correcting Stephen after one of his patronizing rants, leaving visible tension hanging in the air. Former ESPN producers have since hinted these were only the tip of the iceberg. Internal notes reportedly documented Stephen's escalating hostility toward Molly in the months before she was gone. And yet, while the public was still reeling, Stephen A.'s empire kept growing at warp speed.
Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
Within 48 hours of Molly's farewell statement, ESPN proudly unveiled his expanded role on Monday Night Football and broader dominance across NBA and NFL platforms. Fans couldn't help but connect the dots. Speculation only got wilder when two on-air personalities admitted off the record that ESPN rushed Malika Andrews' new contract announcement purely as a distraction. Meanwhile, Stephen kept twisting his story. Some days he called the exit uncomfortable. Other times he bristled, "The details are none of your business." Critics pointed out that if he really didn't know, then why was he rattling off confidential contract milestones and internal decisions like a man with the playbook in hand? The pressure boiled over when former ESPN analyst Emmanuel Acho blasted him live on air. Acho snapped, "Don't tell us you don't know the details, then turn around and spill details nobody else even has." Molly is a friend. Molly is a coworker. Molly's been my partner on that show for a decade. She's someone I've leaned on, and she's done the same for me. That kind of loyalty made Stephen's denials look even more hollow. The sense of betrayal only got thicker. Molly's supporters pointed to the tidal wave of outrage online. "I stand with Molly" posts everywhere, and a hashtag boycott first take, hashtag climbing the charts less than 18 hours after her statement. ESPN execs scrambled, denying any connection between Molly's sudden ouster and the shiny new talent deals rolling out. But receipts started popping up. Two respected sports business columnists uncovered internal memos, dated the week before Molly's exit, detailing plans to streamline hosting and maximize Stephen A.'s brand value. That plan paid off fast. Stephen's first solo segments shattered engagement records. Rival cable execs even leaked that ESPN pitched advertisers on a brand new first take, one completely built around Stephen A. Smith.
A lot of times, some of these things happen, and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. But it's not as if I know all the details. It was a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, she made a decision.
The timing was so convenient it looked scripted. Then came the cryptic "stay tuned" Molly dropped at the end of her Instagram note, and the rumor mill exploded. A digital marketing manager who worked closely with both Molly and Stephen swore Molly already had lawyers circling. Legal insiders claim ESPN's own attorneys quietly shifted to escalated mode, even pulling in outside counsel. And according to whispers, a draft legal threat dated September 19th landed on 3 major media desks, before it mysteriously vanished, with ESPN stonewalling every reporter and Stephen ducking direct questions. One longtime ESPN vet summed it up cold. Somebody blinked, and it wasn't Molly. He explained, "Yesterday, we all knew she was leaving, but not like that. Not with her gone overnight. That screams this was way deeper than just a money dispute." Inside the building, executives tried damage control, press calls, memos, even a nervous all-hands video repeating the same line. Nothing else to see here. But the more they repeated it, the more desperate it sounded, like whistling past the graveyard. Staffers started joking. "Every time an exec says no, shoe will drop. Boots come crashing from the ceiling." ESPN has run this playbook before, but never with so much on the line and so many eyes glued to every move. The carefully crafted narrative began to collapse the moment ESPN tried to plaster over Molly's exit with a shiny distraction. Before her chair was even cold, Malika Andrews was rolled out with a multi-year contract announcement. Coincidence? the network claimed. But the timing had all the grace of a fire alarm yanked in the middle of a board meeting. Within hours, Andrew's name was trending alongside Molly's, and whispers spread that contingency planning for this handoff started weeks before Molly's Instagram bombshell. 3 digital marketing staffers swore Malika's announcement package was prepped days in advance. Backstage, the mood flipped from tense to silent. One talent agent snapped, "Nobody pivots that fast without a plan." They cut Molly loose, handed Malika the script, and prayed fans wouldn't notice the switch. But fans noticed, and so did sponsors. A sneaker giant reportedly paused its first take ad buy, demanding written proof that ESPN could keep ratings stable without another social media wildfire. A senior sports business columnist called the speed of the deal a red flag the size of Connecticut. The impression, intentional or not, was clear. Molly's exit wasn't sudden at all, but part of a master plan to reshape the chessboard. And right on cue, Stephen A's $100 million contract dropped just days later, coinciding with his new NFL sideline presence, expanded NBA duties, and a media blitz that screamed solo act. One veteran studio director didn't mince words. "This isn't a pivot, it's a coronation." Suddenly, the queen was gone, and the king was taking every square on the board. Insiders noticed the signs weeks before. Closed-door meetings between Stephen and top brass dragging late into the night, with security clearing the halls. The whole friendship and grief storyline unraveled fast. Because while Stephen wiped away tears on camera, off camera, he was everywhere. On every promo, every podcast, every hot take. ESPN wasn't just backing him. They were betting the entire farm on his voice. Meanwhile, Stephen A's ballooning platform kept feeding him headline after headline. And the whispers of conspiracy grew louder every week. Old clips started resurfacing online. Stephen cracking jokes at Molly's expense. Moments where her frustration boiled over. Debates that stopped being playful sparring and turned into straight-up tension. One insider described it bluntly, a culture of intimidation. Nobody called it out, because nobody wanted to lose their job, they said. Even some ESPN hosts, speaking off the record, started asking the same question. Was Molly just collateral damage, or was she the actual target all along? Network brass kept chanting the same tired line, business as usual, but the facade kept cracking. Exec Magnus stuck to the script. "We just weren't fully aligned," he repeated, but insiders were leaking left and right. Reports of secret tryout auditions for Molly's replacement popped up, with talent bookers told to move fast, keep disruptions minimal, and force the narrative back on brand. Yet, the harder they pushed, the shakier things looked. By the next week, First Take's live ratings started wobbling, while social feeds exploded with fans demanding answers. And Molly's silence? It became her most powerful weapon. No interviews, no appearances. Just that final Instagram note ending with a cryptic smile and a "stay tuned." That single emoji now gets screenshotted and shared across SportsX daily, fueling theories of everything from an explosive tell-all podcast to a courtroom showdown that could drag ESPN execs into the witness box. According to 2 legal consultants with past ties to the network, ESPN's legal team is already bracing for a worst-case scenario, a full-on hostile work environment lawsuit. That would mean depositions under oath, ugly discovery documents spilling out, and enough heat to make corporate lawyers sweat through their suits. And here's the kicker. If Molly breaks her silence, this storm won't just land on Stephen A's shoulders. It could engulf the entire ESPN brand, the execs, the so-called no controversy narrative they've been selling for years. One internal risk memo, briefly posted, then quickly scrubbed, advised staff to anticipate negative headlines, prepare unified responses, and avoid individual engagement. Translation? Even they know the next shoe hasn't just dropped. It's about to crush the floorboards. And just when people thought the dust might finally settle, it got even uglier. Inside, sources say ESPN's upper floors turned into a battleground. Execs arguing over whether to double down on Stephen A's solo empire or quietly brace for Molly's legal hammer to drop. The tension was so thick that staffers joked it felt like Game of Thrones in Bristol. One senior producer leaked that the network's advertisers started demanding closed-door reassurances. Brands didn't want to be blindsided if Molly decided to drop her bombshell. Another staffer claimed draft talking points were circulating that literally instructed hosts on what not to say about Molly. Proof the network was rattled. Meanwhile, fans kept fanning the flames. Every throwback clip of Molly shutting Stephen A. down went viral. Every awkward moment got dissected frame by frame, and every silence from ESPN only fueled the speculation. Molly's name was now bigger outside the building than it ever was inside it. Legal experts warn, if Molly takes this fight public, ESPN's entire business-as-usual mask could be ripped off for good. This isn't just a talent shuffle anymore. It's shaping up to be the kind of scandal that changes how networks handle power, contracts, and the people caught in the crossfire. And right now, ESPN looks like it's one leak away from a total meltdown. Like, comment, and subscribe for more breaking updates. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.